What's going on, guys? And welcome back to Budget Week Tuesday's edition. Today, we are going over Green Steel. We have a replay here for you guys against Ruby Steel, and then one more replay to follow. After that, we will go over the deck list and kind of talk about why we chose it. So, Budget Week means we have $100 to build some of the popular decks of the format and see how well we can do with them. So we are going first. I like to keep the Smash, and then we have our Merfolk as our one drop. We are playing a little aggressive with this build. So we draw into Storm Rage on Zeus, a couple Uninkables, Flynn, Benja, Smee, and then obviously we still have our other two cards. So we can definitely get aggressive here. Benja's not going to be too important, so we can get rid of him and play our Merfolk. Right side, we have the Zeus to deal with locations if we're up against, say, Pirates. You have your Storm Rage on. He misses his one drop. We draw Captain Hook. So now it's like we could potentially go for Hook here, which would keep Smee from self-harming himself. However, I was like, or do we just get really aggressive? Smee can go a few turns into it. And I'm like, debating, and I'm like, Smash is also nice and say in case he comes down with something like a John Silver. So we are going to get aggressive here, go aggro. We quest for 2, we get our Smee on board. Then his own Cinderella comes down, allowing him to draw a discard, kind of fix his hand, if you will. And we see a big Tinkerbell get inked. So we draw into Hercules, who is just a great budget option, by the way, if you're looking for someone. Swings for 6, resists 2, so his 3 willpower lasts quite a bit. We go ahead, ink him. We have our Smee, we have our Merfolk. We're going to Storm Rage on, so we get to draw a card, which is uninkable, unfortunately. But we also get that Cinderella off the board. We're at 6, threatening 10. So going into turn 4, there's a good chance that we take a 10-0 lead, and our opponent is just not in a good spot. However, he has his own Let the Storm Rage on that he finishes off the Smee with. I would have almost went for the Merfolk, so you don't have to discard to lose it, and Smee's going to continue to self-hurt himself. We draw into another copy of Benja. And at this point, too, we can quest to 8, ink, say, Benja, play Flynn and Merfolk. We're not in the swords range just yet, so we're guaranteed 14 at this point. So we can go to 14 and threaten lethal the following turn by playing those two. If our opponent intends to challenge anything, he's going to be discarding his hand also to do so. Opponent saying thanks, almost like he was bluffing having the swords, but again, we're a turn away from swords. He could ink, go to 4. We see Maleficent Dragon get inked, so definitely not a pirate build, which we already kind of knew that based on his other choices. Another Let the Storm Rage on comes down, and then we see a Jolly Roger, which is not going to do anything. So we can still quest to 12. Play a Flynn Rider. Now we have to potentially watch out, though, for that grab your swords. I didn't want to just not play Flynn either, because say if he comes down with Captain Hook or a pirate and he can move to the Jolly Roger for free, they would be able to gain rush and he would take out my threats. Instead, he has a Maui, attacks, and discards another Jolly Roger. We hit a Let the Storm Rage on, so we can go ahead here, quest up to 16 now. I'm like, we can play a Long Game Zeus, get rid of the Maui, so now we're threatening lethal once again. We still have Smash, we still have Let the Storm Rage on, and if you haven't caught on, our strategy is kind of aggro and using the Steel Engine to keep our opponent's threats off board. A second Maui comes down now. He's going to have to discard to a challenge again. But at this point, it's pretty much all a wrap. He's got one card left in hand. We draw a Stout-Hearted. She's not really going to do anything for us. We can quest with Flynn. We can smash the Maui. Can't quite play Let the Storm Rage on yet. I miscounted on my ink. I was like, okay, we'll use both. Get rid of the Maui. Unfortunately, that's just not how it worked. We see a Jafar come down now too, and if we can just get one more threat on board, let them both stick, we will be sitting pretty good. Let the Storm Rage on can finish off the Maui and draw us a card in the process, so again, that's pretty nice too. We could play a Morph, potentially Shift on our turn. Instead, we hit a Flynn Rider. So now we can quest with Flynn, go to 18, play the other Flynn, and he needs something to deal with both of them. Not necessarily unheard of, could have potentially not quested yet, but we put our opponent on Have It, and the Jafar here, he could quest, or not quest, challenge, draw a card, hit like another Storm Rage on, which should be unfortunate, but he does not. So instead, we take the win there. I want to take this time out now to thank our Patreons. Your guys' contributions directly go and fund giveaways like the one you see on the screen. Information down below if you want to get in on that giveaway. So back to the replays. We're against Amber Amethyst this time around, and we are going second versus the Hyper Aggro deck. Smash, Smee, Merfolk, Hook, Bell, Benja, and a whole new world. Wait, a budget deck with a whole new world? Yeah, we put one in there. Maybe we could have spent that $16 a little smarter, but at the same time, sometimes you just need that hand reload. So going second, we have our Smash. We have the Hook Smee playline. We have Curse Merfolk. So I'm going to keep all them, get rid of the Benja, who's not going to be impactful. Unfortunately, we hit 2 more Uninkables, trying to trade in some of them Uninkables for inkable cards that we can get rid of. We do hit another Smash, though, so that's helpful. We see Doc get inked, and he goes for Maleficent. And we draw a third Merfolk. So we're going to get rid of Smee at this point because we can go Merfolk and then come back with double Merfolk. Actually, we're going to go Captain Hook there. I forgot my replay. Okay, so we're going to go Captain Hook there so we can challenge and take out his threats. And then next turn we can drop double Merfolk. And the following turn, say Smash or Merfolk or a combination of them. So then we see another Maleficent and the Pascal coming down. He doesn't quest with the Maleficent. We hit a Bodyguard who we're not going to need in this matchup. Again, I felt the Smash was more value to keep than the Bodyguard because he's not going to challenge us. So that's why we got rid of Hercules. So now we're both sitting pretty aggressive. We're both sitting 5 lure a turn. We have a lot of removal in our hand though, so I am feeling pretty good about the spot we are in. Unfortunately, like if he can dump his hand or go real wide, even his Maleficents can actually trade and take out my Merfolks, which is something to keep an eye on. So we draw a Smee. Don't need it at this point. We're going to ink the Smee, quest, and then we can go ahead and smash out the Pongo. We're going to quest then with the Captain Hook because if he wants to sacrifice 2 of his characters to take out the Hook, I'm okay with that. Usually those challenger type characters, you want to leave them, but I guess he could potentially come down with like a Madam Mim Fox here, and that would be very unfortunate. But we see Maleficent Sorceress come down to draw him a card instead. Waiting to see if he begins his questing journey now or if he opts to not. And he is going to start. So Pascal goes questing, then his Maleficent, and then lastly the other Maleficent. So now we can start working on his board and taking out the threats. As soon as we get our turn back, we could say smash a Maleficent, Captain Hook take out another Maleficent. If we get an inkable card, we can even put a third Merfolk down on board, quest to 9 if we wish. His Maleficent probably going to start taking out our threats, but we draw another Captain Hook. So we're going to quest, take out Maleficent, smash Maleficent, come on, and then we are going to ink our Captain Hook and play our Merfolk, kind of how we had mentioned. Part of me debated smashing the Sorceress just because her 2/2 who can sing Friends on the other side, and maybe that was the better option. No matter what, we would say lose out on our Captain Hook there too, but on the other side, our Captain Hook would also take out the Little Maleficent in the process. Or his Little Maleficent could go after a Merfolk and he would just have to discard a card. So we're actually not sitting in a great spot right here. If I were him, I would challenge a Merfolk. Like, I would just take out my threats and next turn you can clean wipe me. Befuddle, bounce one. I guess. Befuddle bounce 2. Like, I definitely would have Befuddle, Pascal, challenge, and take out the remaining Merfolk. And then you don't even have to discard, and I completely lose my tempo. Obviously, I can come back with both, but that's just what I would have done personally. So we're able to go to 11. Our opponent's at 6. We're both getting kind of down on the resources. He's going to quest to 8 and then play a Mim Fox, bouncing the Maleficent most likely. And then he can challenge and discard the Maleficent to take out the Cursed Merfolk, which actually works really well for us. He chooses not to challenge because he wants to get that extra draw. Which allows us to go to 15, so it's definitely a questionable choice on his part. And instead, we're going to go ahead Merfolk to 15, and we don't have any ink left to play anything. Knowing I had another Merfolk in hand, though, I could have went to 15, put a Merfolk down, which gets me to 17. I don't know if I agree with not challenging right there. I get the Maleficent's going to net you another draw, but you really probably should have done that. In addition to the Pascal challenge after befuddling twice, he really would have been in a much better situation. That's why I'm so on and off with befuddle. Like, it's great for slowing your opponent down, but you need to capitalize on it right away because it doesn't truly get rid of the problem. So we are able to play a Merfolk and Benja, which means if our opponent cannot remove both of them, we win the game. He can quest to 13. He can take out the Merfolk. Does not matter. We still have 4 lore sitting ready, and we're going to go ahead and take it out. He does scoop and give us the win. So let's go ahead and jump into that deck list. And here we are. You see it on the screen. We are playing 14 Uninkables. The deck comes in at $94. We are playing 8 1-drops. We have 4 Merfolk, 4 Hook. Again, we're trying to be aggressive, especially early on. That's why the Flynn Riders. And the 4 Smees you can see here too. So we got those 3 for our aggressive 1 and 2 drops. Ursula just makes sense to deal with songs. Cinderella and Morph to get into our power late game shift plays. Captain Hook allows you to deal with your opponent's boards and also protects the Smee if needed. Benja not only gets rid of items, he also can quest for 2. Your Bodyguard and your Hercules, who works as a shift target for your big Hercules. A couple little Tinkerbells for draw engine and potentially a shift target. Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy. Again, we have the 530 there. We could have, say, potentially cut that one whole new world and actually played like 4 Giant Fairies. Maybe that would have been a smarter call, but we played 2 and I enjoyed it. Then we also have 3 Cinderella Stout-Hearteds to kind of help close out your games. 4 Smash to deal with your opponent's boards. 4 Storm Rage on. 3 Along Came Zeus. We do have double Grab Your Swords for those aggros. And then the 1 Whole New World. Again, if we cut the 1 Whole New World, we probably could have fit in 2 more Giant Fairies. And then the deck would be better in a different light. Overall, maybe a little better. But at the same time, it's hard to tell. 75% of the deck does come in as steel, but this is our budget green steel deck with a quick showcase. And don't forget, we still have 3 more days, 3 more decks. So like, share, subscribe, comment down below. That giveaway will be announced on the first Friday of May in a live stream. So thanks guys for watching, and until next time, take care.